In the peaceful village of Umunza, there lived a beautiful young woman named Nkemdilim. Nkemdilim was potter, who made beautifully and traditionally designed pots, bowls, plates and cups, all out of clay. She was very good at her craft and had a lot of customers, both within and outside the village, and she made a lot of money from it. Nkemdilim was also known far and wide for her loving and kind nature, always ready to help those in need. Her kind nature earned her the love and admiration of the villagers. She was happily married to Chibuzo, a strong and loyal hunter who adored her. Their love was the envy of many. Everyone in their village talked about their union, how Chibuzo showered his wife with affection, and how they seemed inseparable. Nkemdilim had a younger sister named Adaugo, whom she loved so dearly. Adaugo was the most beautiful maiden in Umunze. She was indeed a true African treasure, radiating beauty. Every young man in Umunze wanted to marry her. Adaugo was a bead maker who made many beautiful and colourful beads that decorated the beautiful maidens of Umunze. Nkemdilim and Adaugo were orphans, and they were their late parents' only children. As the older sister, Nkemdilim showered so much love and affection on Adaugo, making sure she didn't feel the vacuum caused by their parents' passing. Unknown to Nkemdilim, however, Adaugo hated her so much. She had always been in love with Chibuzo, her sister's husband, and she felt like her sister had deprived her of having him. Chibuzo, who originally lived in Umuoma village, which was his maternal village, decided to relocate to Umunze, his father's village, in search of greener pasture. He started hunting immediately he settled down, as that was his occupation back in Umuoma. Soon he became one of the successful hunters in Umunze. Adaugo was the first maiden that caught his attention in the village, due to her beauty and elegance. He had approached her when he first saw her. He told her he liked her and would want them to be friends. But Adaugo turned him down without hesitation. Prince Akachi, the only son of the king and the heir apparent to the throne of Umunza, had fixed a date for his bride selection ceremony, which was about 2 months away. The village was buzzing with excitement. All the maidens were preparing for the big day, each hoping to be picked. Adaugo, being the most beautiful maiden, was so sure that the prince was going to pick her. Prince Akachi had once told Adaugo that she was very beautiful and that he admired her. Since her encounter with the prince, Adaugo began to turn down all the men who approached her for a relationship, hoping that the prince would take her as wife and make her the queen. It was for this same reason that she turned down Chibuzo. Unaware that Adaugo was related to Nkemdilim at that time, Chibuzo went ahead to ask Nkemdilim out, and she agreed to be with him. They began their relationship, and Nkemdilim introduced him to Adaugo, her only sister. Adaugo looked at Chibuzo with disgust. She wished her sister well in their relationship. Unfortunately for her, on the day of the selection, the prince chose Oma, another maiden of the village. Adaugo was heartbroken. She stayed indoor for many days and refused to eat or drink. No man asked her out again. After the prince picked his bride, she began to wish that she had given Chibuzo a chance when he approached her. She started to admire him from afar and soon developed feelings for him. She would sneak into Chibuzo's hut at night and profess her love for him. She told him many terrible things about Nkemdilim, giving him a million reasons why she wasn't good enough for him. But Chibuzo stood his ground, insisting that it was either Nkemdilim or no one else. Adaugo was still struggling with her feelings for Chibuzo when he proposed to Nkemdilim and went to see their father's family to begin the marriage rites. Chibuzo never mentioned to Nkemdilim that Adaugo made advances at him. When Nkemdilim and Chibuzo got married, Adaugo was heartbroken but buried her feelings deep, trying to support her sister. But she couldn't bury her feelings for too long, especially when Shah saw how Chibuzo loved and pampered his wife. Nkemdilim moved to her husband's compound that had 2 huts, leaving Adaugo alone in their former compound, but she kept in touch with her and visited her frequently. Adaugo's envy of her sister's marriage increased as time went by. She saw how much Chibuzo adored her sister whenever she visited them. The couple was so much in love, and it was obvious to all who came across them. Her envy eventually turned into something darker, something she could no longer control. Her thoughts became clouded with wicked plans. If she couldn't have Chibuzo, then she would make sure Nkemdilim couldn't enjoy her marriage, she decided. The desire to destroy what her sister's home consumed her until she went in search of Okoli, a very powerful herbalist from Umudike village, a neighboring village. A man known for his strange and powerful charm. She told Nkemdilim that she was going to the neighboring village to get beads for her bead-making business. Then she went in search of the herbalist, whom she once heard of, from her friend, who was from the village. It was almost midday when Adaugo approached the herbalist's secluded hut. The compound had strange and scary-looking carved images at strategic positions, but Adaugo wasn't scared at all. Her determination to ruin Nkemdilim was stronger than any fear. The herbalist listened quietly as Adaugo explained her wicked desire. She lied about everything. "I don't know what my sister used on Chibuzo. He had made up his mind to marry me. But immediately he saw her, he left me for her, and today they are happily married," she lied. "So, what do you want me to do for you?" Okoli asked her with a wicked grin. "I don't want her to enjoy her marriage. I want her to be unhappy just the way I am unhappy. If possible, let Chibuzo come back to me," she replied him. Without asking further questions, the old Okoli handed her a small black clay pot wrapped with a red piece of cloth. "You need to give her an evil gift, a gift that she can move around with. Anytime she wears the gift or puts it on her body, there won't be peace in that home. If she is yet to conceive, then she will never conceive as long as she has the gift in her possession. Whatever gift you decide to give to her, just put it inside this pot and let it remain there for 3 days. After the 3rd day, take the gift to her and you will see the result," Okoli told her. Adaugo hesitated for a moment, then collected the pot. She had made up her mind to do whatever it would take her to bring her sister's marriage to an end. She thanked the man, paid him for the charm, and hurriedly left the places so she could get back home on time. When she returned to Umunze, she made the most beautiful bead she had ever made in the history of her bead-making business, a neck and 2 wrist beads. Then she put it inside the pot and left it for 3 days, just as Okoli had instructed. On the 3rd day, she took it out and then headed for Nkemdilim's hut to present it to her. Nkemdilim was unaware of the darkness lurking in her sister's heart. She had always believed they shared a close bond, one rooted in love and loyalty. So, When Adaugo presented her with a beautiful red bead as a gift, she accepted it without suspicion. "This is for you, my dear sister," Adaugo said, her voice sweet and filled with false affection. "It will bring you good fortune and keep your marriage strong." Nkemdilim smiled, touched by her sister's gesture. The bead was indeed beautiful, and Nkemdilim eagerly wore it around her neck, believing it would bring her blessings. "Thank you so much, my beautiful sister. I couldn't have asked for another sister. You are simply the best," Nkemdilim said. For the next few weeks, life continued as usual, but slowly things began to change. Nkemdilim gradually became irritated by her husband's presence, always snapping at him for no reason. Everything her husband did got her pissed off. Any day she wore the bead, she would yell at her husband and insult him for no reason. She complained that he always got the hut dirty and messed up. She said he snored too much and prevented her from sleeping well at night. The very peaceful and easygoing Nkemdilim changed overnight, and her husband began to wonder if she was the same gentle Nkemdilim he had met and fallen in love with. Chibuzo, who had always been kind and patient, became increasingly irritable. Small arguments erupted into full-blown fights, attracting the attention of the villagers. Nkemdilim created an ugly scene one day when she F0 taught her husband tearing his clothes. The elders of the village had to gather to beg Chibuzo, who said he was done with the marriage. After so much pleading, he forgave her. One day, Chibuzo returned from the forest where he had gone hunting for days. Nkemdilim welcomed him warmly and gave him food to eat after he had had his bath, and she gave him a gentle massage. Chibuzo, though surprised at the sudden change, he was happy thinking everything had returned to normal. The next day, Nkemdilim dressed up and was going to the market. She put on the bead and her mood changed again. She stepped out of the hut and saw her husband cutting and neatly arranging some firewood. She became angry immediately. "Did I ask you to help me?" she asked in anger. Her husband was confused. He wondered what he had done wrong again. In order not to create another scene as always, he gently dropped the axe and quietly went into the hut. They continued to live like sworn enemies in the house, with Nkemdilim fighting him over the slightest issue. The warmth between them began to fade. It was as though a dark cloud had settled over their home, sucking away the love and peace they once cherished. Whenever she was alone, Nkemdilim wondered what was happening to her and why she suddenly changed into an entirely different personality. She tried to salvage the situation, doing everything in her power to rekindle the joy they once shared. But no matter what she did, it seemed as though an invisible force was working inside of her. Worse still, despite their desire to start a family, Nkemdilim could not conceive. Months turned into years, and their home became a battleground of frustration, anger, sorrow, and bitterness. Adaugo, on the other hand, watched with quiet satisfaction. Her plan was working. Nkemdilim's happiness was becoming a thing of the past, and Chibuzo, the man she longed for, was slipping away from her sister's grip. Each time Nkemdilim confided in her, sharing her pain and confusion about her marriage, she would advise her to take things easy with her husband, but deep down her mind, she was very happy. Nkemdilim spent sleepless nights weeping, wondering why her life had taken such a drastic turn. She prayed and sought counsel from elders in the community, but nothing worked. As the years passed, the strain in Nkemdilim and Chibuzo's marriage became unbearable. They no longer spoke without arguing, and the once loving husband now seemed like a stranger. Chibuzo couldn't take it anymore. He threw Nkemdilim's things out of the hut one evening, telling her to go and never return. She cried and begged him on her knees, promising to change, but Chibuzo was done. When the news of their separation spread round the village, it was no surprise to anyone. They all knew it was going to happen someday. Nkemdilim was too ashamed to remain in the village. She relocated to Anioma, a small village by the north, through the help of one of her customers who was from that village. She left Adaugo in Umunze and told her to visit her in Anioma whenever she wanted to see her. Adaugo never did. Immediately, Nkemdilim left Umunze. Adaugo swung into action. She visited Chibuzo, pretending to have come to check up on him. After her first visit, she began to visit him frequently. Although Chibuzo didn't really pay attention to her, he seemed to be happy to have someone around. When she noticed she wasn't getting maximum attention from Chibuzo, Adaugo visited Okuli again, asking him for a charm that would make Chibuzo love her and forget about Nkemdilim completely. Okuli gave her 2 powerful charms: a powdery substance for her to apply on her face before visiting him, and another substance to add to his food after she has gotten his attention. "If he eats that food, he will be yours forever," he told her, bragging about the potency of his charms. Adaugo thanked him, made payment, and left. She applied the powdery substance on her face as instructed and went to visit Chibuzo. Immediately he set his eyes on her. He lost it completely. He fell in love with her immediately. Adaugo asked him if she should prepare him some food, and he agreed. She made pounded yam with oha soup. She sprinkled the second substance into the food before serving him. He ate the food and praised her cooking skill. She initially was sneaking to visit him so that the villagers wouldn't see her. But after some time, she began to go to his hut during day. She no longer hid their relationship from the public. People began to whisper among themselves. While some saw it as an abomination, others didn't see anything wrong with it. Nkemdilim's bride price hadn't even been returned to Chibuzo. He didn't ask for it. Adaugo was all over the place, rubbing her relationship with Chibuzo on the faces of the villagers. She talked about it freely and without remorse. She became very happy. Nkemdilim, on the other hand, heartbroken and desperate for answers, turned to anyone who could help. She visited countless traditional healers in Anioma and even travelled to distant towns in search of a solution to her troubled marriage. She explained to them how she suddenly changed from being a good and obedient wife to the exact opposite. "My marriage breakup was all my fault," she admitted. However, no one seemed to have an answer, and many hinted that it was simply fate. But Nkemdilim refused to accept this. She knew deep in her heart that something wasn't right. Her search for answers led her to a wise old woman in a neighboring village, renowned for her knowledge of ancient curses and hidden evils. Nkemdilim explained her situation, pouring out her heart in tears. The old woman listened quietly. When she was done, the woman stared at her for a while and then asked her a question. "Do you remember all the gifts you received during and after your marriage?" Nkemdilim thought for a while and said she could still remember all the gifts she and her husband received. "Of all those gifts, which of them do you use or wear on your body?" the woman asked again. Nkemdilim thought for a moment And then her hand went straight to the red bead around her neck, the bead Adaugo had given her years ago. She had worn it so long. It was such a beautiful and irresistible bead. "This bead," Nkemdilim whispered. "My sister gave it to me." The old woman's eyes narrowed and she nodded her head. "That is the source of your misery, my child. This is not just a bead, it carries a curse. The one who gave it to you did so out of envy." Nkemdilim's heart sank. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her own sister? Could Adaugo truly be capable of such wickedness? She asked herself. The old woman asked her to go back to her village and confront her sister. Nkemdilim thanked her and left. The next day, she packed a few clothes into a small bag and headed for Umunze to confront Adaugo. Little did she know that a bigger surprise awaited her in Umunze.